Catholic moral theology begins all of its reflection with the dignity of the human person. And this belief, this conviction in the dignity of the human person is rooted in the Genesis creation story. The Genesis creation story says, God created man in his image. In the divine image, he created him, male and female, he created them. In the Genesis text, it says that all of creation is good, but only humans are said to share in the image of God. And what it means to share in the image of God is to have the capacity to know and to love God. Not only to have that capacity, but to have also been given that desire, to have that infinite desire for the infinite, is what Catherine of Siena would say, and many other theologians as well. So the Genesis text gives us a kind of idyllic description of what it means to flourish as a human person. The passage not only shows and tells man that he has dignity, he has a royal dignity, and describes man as like a priest that takes care of all of creation, tends to all of creation. But in addition to telling him about the dignity he has, really outlines the different facets of our human experience that this touches on. One of those, right, to touch upon sort of the full flourishing of the human person, is the call to work. Man is called to work. Man is called not to simply sit in leisure, but to engage creation, to bring about its full flourishing, to tend to creation. And through work, man humanizes the goods of the world and raises them up, because man, through his reason, orders them and includes them and brings them up into his own projects in the way that he directs the world. And he can really make life even more dignified, even for himself. Another of the fundamental aspects of human flourishing that man is called to is to come to know creation, to come to not only know creation, but to know himself, to know others. And that we relate to the right to education, the right to develop one's natural capacities and one's powers. Now, this is also present in the creation narrative, because after God creates man, he sends man to find a suitable partner. And what does he do? One of the things that he does, he goes and he names all of the creatures, and he finds that none of them are suitable partners, right? None of them share in his dignity, but still he goes through and he sees how all of these things are good, and he names them, he comes to know them, to discover the essences of things, and to develop his own capacities, to experiment, to experience. And so this is another aspect of what it means to live sort of this, ideal flourishing of the human person. And then finally, I would say that in the description of creation, since it couples man and woman, it shows a kind of complementarity, but what it's pointing to as well is the fact that we live in society, we live in community, in communion, and we need one another. So, for example, when I'm born, immediately I'm thrown into a world where I'm dependent upon someone else, upon a community. I don't just sit there and go off and conquer the world on my own. I'm a child, a baby. I can't do anything for myself. Right? And so it's in community that we develop and that we have obligations for others, but then we also have rights that others can't violate. So it's living out this social aspect of our nature, the fact that we're a social animal. That is sort of the third aspect of the vocation of man, that's rooted in what it means to be created with intrinsic dignity. Now, we take this as sort of a common foundation, a basis. But what does that mean for us concretely? It's something that is not given after we achieve some sort of status, nor can it be taken away because we've lost some sort of status. What the text says is that every human person, no matter what, is created in the image and likeness of God. And so it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you fail to do. It doesn't matter the state of your natural, it doesn't matter, the development of your capacities for reason or not. One of the things that John Paul II says, he says that man is more than the sum of his choices. Man is more than the sum of his decisions, his actions. What he's saying is that we can choose to live life in certain ways, but just because we've lived life in a certain way doesn't mean that that is the end-all and be-all of who we are. Because we have that intrinsic dignity, and we can always be forgiven and given the grace to live that out again and anew. We don't have to be reduced to some sin or some pain or some hurt that we may have experienced.